Hi there, this is Cornelia Ward. I am the author of Go Forward Fearlessly, a spiritual roadmap for how to be happy, stress-free, and confident despite massive change. And today, these are the 5 success tips for how to create the wow factor for your customers and clients. This can really be a lot of fun. So I've actually had a lot of fun doing that for a while, but it's kind of formalized in a book that you may or may not have heard of. It's called Platform: How to Get Noticed in a Noisy World. It's written by Michael Hyatt, and it's a great book. You can actually find it on my website under resources. I'll give you that website address at the end. But he talks about how, and he actually has a great podcast, a great blog, so you might want to check him out, whether you're a business owner or you're someone that's just trying to support the business that you work for, or the company or nonprofit you work for. He talks in there about traveling in Scotland in the Highlands with his family, and there, you know how curving and everything, if you've ever been to Scotland or heard about the roads in Scotland, it's pretty curving, and the Highlands are quite beautiful. And he's coming with his family over this mountaintop into this valley in a town called Portree, which is in the Highlands, right in a nice little cove. It's really beautiful. I've actually been there. So I knew about this wow factor that he talked about. I was like, yeah. So you come down over the hill, and there's this beautiful valley and the ocean behind it, and this little town kind of nestled right in the cove, in the bay. And it's just breathtaking. So he talks in the book about how they come over this pass, and the 4 of them, are looking, all of a sudden there's this beautiful view in front of them as they come over the crest of the hill, and they all, at the same time, they all go, wow. So it's kind of a fun way to describe, just something you totally don't anticipate, and just really brings a lot of joy. So let me give you the 5 tips that I would recommend. These are things that I do in my own business. The first thing is when I meet with a client, for instance, or even if I'm meeting with somebody for coffee, it could be a possible referral partner, it could be just somebody, I'm connecting with, I always send a little thank you note. And I don't send an email, I actually send a personal note in the regular mail. When's the last time you got a personal note in the mail from somebody just saying thank you? It's just I get a lot of good feedback about it. And I use this really beautiful Italian stationery that people really appreciate, and you can actually get it at Boutilier's if you live near Burlington, Vermont, on College Street. Nice local store that you can support. And it's actually, if you buy it in the boxes, it's actually pretty inexpensive, but it just leaves a great impression. It's very beautiful. And then I also put in the thank you, just one of these grace cards, which, I won't really describe what it is. It just has kind of a little saying on it and a beautiful picture, and people really appreciate that. The message tends to get to them at just the right time. I get a lot of good feedback about that too, and it just gives me a lot of pleasure to give like that. So that would be tip number 1. Tip number 2 actually is something that Deborah Kehoe does of Kehoe Designs in South Burlington, Vermont. She apparently calls her clients once a month, like let's say on a Friday, and just checks in. Just how are things going? It's not a sales call. It's not a, anything about a project that's going on. It's just kind of a checking in. Hey, how are you doing? So that's just a really nice way to kind of further solidify the relationship that you already have, and you're not, you're looking to just make that connection, and really that's it. The third way that you can create the wow factor with clients and customers is by knowing what their personal interests are. So I had a client a few years ago when I worked in financial services who was really passionate about restoring the hemlock trees that apparently are probably is like elms. Elm has gone because of the disease. So hemlocks apparently are pretty decimated in the state of Vermont where he lives. And he just had he's very passionate about restoring hemlocks to the environment. And so one day, he was a client, and one day in the Free Press, I saw that there was an article about hemlocks and this restoration effort. And I remembered that was something that was kind of close to his heart. And, I just was a way to kind of give something to him, kind of honor him in a different way. And so I just put that in the mail in case he hadn't seen it, and I sent it off to him. So that's another way to create the wow factor is, it's not just that effort of putting it in the mail, but it's like, you remember that they talked about something that was important to them. So that whole listening factor, that's the first step in that process, can really create the wow factor. The fourth thing that I often do is, whether I'm meeting with a client, which is obvious in this situation, or meeting with a referral partner, I always, and maybe it's because I have a background in community economic development, so perhaps that's why I do this, but I just really love supporting other people and helping them to succeed in whatever small way I can. One way is that I'm kind of what I call a compulsive connector, so I like to connect people to other resources that I think might be able to help them. And that's a lot of fun for me. So just, when you're meeting with people, come from a place of, how can I help you out? What way can I support you? And then the fifth way that I create the wow factor, which is really pretty fun, is I often will have workshops at my place of business where I have students come in and, we'll spend the morning or the afternoon or the whole day together. And I offer the people who come to actually take one of these tubs. I have a little tub that you can put your feet in for a foot soak, and we add essential oils to that. And I don't know, guys, maybe that doesn't sound attractive to you, but I can tell you it does create the wow factor. And people, they're sitting there learning, and they're feeding their heads, they're feeding their bodies, and feeling nourished and supported at the same time, and it just smells really good and is really a positive thing. So people are blissing out while they're taking in information, and I can tell you that really surprises people, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for me to be able to offer to people. So those are the 5 factors that I use to create the wow result with clients and customers. And maybe you can just think of one that you feel inspired to do. Maybe make a note in your calendar, what client, and it could be even somebody that who's maybe going through a rough time, or there's some way that you can reach out to somebody, whether it's a client or a customer or just somebody that in the community. So the last thing I'll say is I'll give you that website address where you can find Michael Hyatt's book and several other books. It's goforwardfearlesslybook.com/resources is where that book is. And then if you'd like to pre-order my book, you go to goforwardfearlesslybook.com/pre-order. Thanks so much for your time. Take care and have a good weekend.